Hey everyone, my name is AJ85 and today we are playing the Stanley Parable. I am excited. I had so much fun playing this last time. I can't wait to do it again. Let's go. Let's do this. Let us do this. I want to know what's downstairs. I want to go downstairs. So we will amuse our Mr. Narrator. I need to name him.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number
Mr. Smith, with all due respect, we know all this. We knew all this. Alright, I want to head down to the stairs. Let's go.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
That they went downstairs.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
We don't need to go to no stinking meeting. Should we go visit our beloved break room again?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Wait a minute. Last time we were here, we had an outer body experience. Are we up here? Are we there? Watching ourselves from above? Mr. Smith, you have anything to say? Ned? Maybe your name is Mr. Ned Smith. Huh? Huh? Maybe? I just want to hear him talk to us, that's all. Mr. Smith? I think he knows we're on to him. Ah, poop. Alright, fine. We'll play it his way. For now. Door. 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 Are all of them?
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Hey, this one works. Look at the broom closet.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
You know, my gamer instinct is saying otherwise. I think there's something here and you just don't want me to
There was
find it.
nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Oh, but there is a reason. There is. Look at these white squares. There's a code
It was
here.
baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
You know, maybe if you gave me a chance to click on things.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Well, if you would quit interrupting me, I would. There is stuff to do. Look at that wrench. That's a good wrench.
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Well, now that we know about it, is it... I bet it is protection.
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path.
Might be.
Maybe when you go talk about this with your friend, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning. Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Oh, see, this story just got more interesting as we learned more about Stanley.
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Could you say all of that all over again? You have such a lovely voice. Mr. Smith? Ned, you got anything else for us? What if?
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you.
Oh look, a broom closet!
You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
I love when he gets mad at us. If we... Oh, there's the stairs. But the broom closet was so entertaining. I have to know. Anything? Okay. Mr. Smith is done. Fine.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
No, we're gonna walk downstairs. Oh. I knew it'd tell. Oh. The light came from hell. What's in here? Ooh, a car.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all?
No reason at all.
None of it made any logical sense.
No.
And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Oh my gosh.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid?
Oh.
And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself. Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream.
Yeah, we were just
Did the voice
flying
not
through
see
the
him
stars a minute
float and
ago.
make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one.
Fresh air.
Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over.
Over.
Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Sure. I'm okay. Crap.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice?
gosh.
Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
What happened to Stanley?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
I thought she was gonna call the ambulance. Going downstairs was bad. Wow. That was something. Okay. So, what happens?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
So we found out what happens.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his
downstairs.
left.
And then turns out we die.
Yet there was not a single person here
But I do
either.
remember one
Feeling a
route
wave of
from-
disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Okay, now shush, Ned. Anyways, I remember if we go down the proper path, there was this alternate path that said escapades, and I want to know what that does.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
We'll amuse him
Shocked,
for now.
unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Oh, yeah.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Whoa. Sound like some whipping action going on back there.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Did he? I think he went down this path called Escape.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Ooh. Cool.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
But a violent death? What a way to go! People will remember that.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Yep. This just gets... Wait, what's that? Okay, I think that's just a pillar. Let's go! Whee! Did I die again? Maybe we should have listened to Mr. Smith here. So it wasn't stairs down. Oh my.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Hey, we're gonna be a pancake. Let's do it.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Whoa! Hello, lady. Mrs. Smith. Pleasure to meet you. Mr. Smith has told us so much about you. Hey, that's our name.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
He's your husband. You tell me. Hey, there's a room there. What's in this room? Did we go to heaven?
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Button sounds. A selection of the sounds used throughout the game when buttons are pressed. Each sound is a mixed keyboard stroke and a synthesized tone. Cool. The two doors. The set of two doors was the very first concrete piece of the Stanley's Parable design. Once this room was created, the rest of the game emerged as an extension of it, an exploration of the contradiction this room posed. Oh, wow. This is just neat. Corridor. The pacing of this opening section was important to get right. This corridor has been moved and altered to make sure the player reaches the two doors in a good time. Fascinating. Office layout. Oh, that's pretty cool. Hey! Nature paintings. Hey, it's the blue one I really like. But behold! Ooh, I like this green one. Oh, this one's really pretty. I just want to get perfect. Perfect in my brain. Ah, nice. That's beautiful. 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 Filing cabinets. Yep. The office computers. Somebody was playing solitaire. Let me tell ya. The credits. Neat. Very cool. Ooh, do we go that way or that way? What's over here? Whoa. Hey. Doesn't show the green one? The office clock. Oh my goodness. It's Elizabeth. Underground. Ooh. I want to explore more, but I'm drawn to the light. Narration outtakes? Oh, tell me more. Kevin Brightening, the voice of the narrator, recorded dialogue for the entire game roughly 3 separate times over the 2 years of development. These are clips from early takes that were not used in the final game.
But of course, you being you, you'll probably spend the next hour trying to solve it. Here, I'm just going to make this easy on you. Now then, this elevator for sure, we're getting right back on track to where were all of his co-workers? Oh, I don't know. How about they're throwing a surprise party for him, for all his button pushes? Does that sound plausible to you?
That's cool. This is so cool! Oh my gosh, the amount of time and just processing, and it's just so cool. Oh my gosh. I wonder how many different types of endings there are. Maintenance room. Oh, I don't think we got that. I'm wondering if there's hints. Oh my goodness. Hey lady, Mrs. Smith. For the second trailer we sent out, we asked people to email the narrator for questions. While we had initially planned to use these in further promotional materials, we never found the perfect use for them. Here are the selections of those emails. Oh my gosh. Dear Strong Bad. How do you type with gloves on, Ben? Okay. That's just fascinating. Okay. I'm getting too distracted here. We need to get to it. Are we done? Surely we're not done. Elevator. Wait. This isn't where I first came in, is it? No. missed so much. I don't. The game is now paused. Oh my gosh. Whoa, what was this? Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, exit. Exit.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Oh? Sure. Why not?
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me.
Whoa.
You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time...
I got squished. Mrs. Smith? Mrs. Nadine? Hello? No, no. I think you're teasing me. I think I'm still alive and well. Sure, there was that very distinct smoosh noise, and all the bones in my body are broken, and probably have massive internal bleeding and hemorrhaging going on. But I bet I'm still alive. I can survive that, right? Stanley's a very tough individual. I think we did. I think we're did. Sure. Oh my gosh. That is hilarious. That was really cool to kind of get a snippet behind the scenes. That was neat. That was cool. I liked that. So what are we gonna do now? Let's see. Wait. This is new. Ned?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh, okay. Whatever you say, Ned.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
But that was a different route. So, oh gosh. I'm going this way.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
So is
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
So did it get back to normal?
Yes, truly a room worth admiring.
I need a drink.
It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautiful, but eager to get back to business. Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Well, oh, I remember what's over here. I also remembered that last
Stanley was so
time-
bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
So what happens if we jump? Let's go find out. What does that say? Do not jump from the cargo lift while it's in motion. will cause death. Penalty for misuse of cargo lift, 1,000. Penalty for jumping off cargo lift, 5,000. Well, luckily for us, we have just the right amount of money.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your
Whoops.
enemy, really.
Was it-
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
I wasn't ready. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Hey, I didn't know I could turn them on and off. Whoa. Wait. Oh my gosh. Can I go through here? No. Why is there all the paper on the floor? This is getting interesting.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Uh-huh. Okay. Should, you know what? Yeah, we'll do it his way. We'll do it the Mr. Narrator's way. For now.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
Oh my gosh. That is so funny. No. My throat's a little dry, excuse me. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Oh my gosh, okay. Look, I'll even close it. That was funny.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
No fun. I'll go up here. Trying to think, what we could do differently. Oh! This is new. Poor panda. Oh, this is new. Now what? Huh. Just whisper my name. Is the narrator Smith? Mr. Smith, would you? He's singing. Aw, is that really it? Aw. I feel sad. I wanted to play more in the elevator.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
This is
What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf. looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Usually the one that rushes.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
That's funny. That was funny. Oh, I love it. Does this look different to you? Or is that just me?
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Hey, what happens if we push the on button instead of off like last time? Let's check that out real quick.
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible?
Impossible.
Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Maybe.
And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Nah. Let's turn this back on. Let's get back to work.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example,
How dare you?
and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex.
I better
How
skip
long
it.
until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're
I don't know if this is
going,
gonna help.
what all this means. I barely know where to start.
I really don't know. If
What's
this
that?
helps.
You'd like to know where your co-workers are?
Yeah, where are they?
A moment of solace before you're obliterated?
Yeah.
All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone.
Huh.
Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing.
Yeah?
Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh, dear me. What's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy
I didn't
it
notice
first,
on the screen that
so
it
you
was showing
can't.
buttons. Oh, that's fine. Darn it.
Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to
The
struggle.
time.
30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just you being blown to pieces.
No, you can't go out
Will you
like this.
cling desperately to your frail life? Or will you let it go peacefully? Another
I
chance.
can't believe we're just-
Make it count.
Aw.
Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
That was interesting. I didn't notice that on the screens it was showing what button to push. Let's try that again. I have to know. My curiosity.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
You erased them.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Or maybe you just erased them. That we were sort of friends. Nah, we're frenemies. Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Smith. I'll play it your way for now. Looks different. Ned, that's not cool. Jerk. Are you in the bathroom now? It's been a while. Wait. You can go to the bathroom. Because the boss knows that what the boss says goes, if the boss has suffered losses, then that's what the boss chose. There it is. Anything else fun in here? This is cool. Extreme bathrooms. Okay. So that little thing.
Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Quelle surprise.
Well, I'm glad we're on the same page for once, that we just want to get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's go. This game is so good. This is so much fun. See if we can save ourselves this time. That'd be cool.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? Works emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's
3.
your time to shine.
1,
You are the star. It's your story now.
3.
Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is.
I pushed the
More
3.
time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that?
No.
You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're
does that really do
obliterated.
nothing?
All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway.
no.
I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees.
Okay, I
Oh
don't
dear
think
me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? But you really believe there's an answer? How many times will you replay this bit, looking desperately for a solution? 10? 100? 1,000? I look forward to finding out and to watching the bomb go off each time you fail. Just you and me in the retching explosion of fire and metal over and over and over for all of eternity. And Stanley died again. And Stanley died again. And Stanley died again. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Was there something I could have done? Was I just not figuring it out right? Or was I, once again, just a mere puppet to Mr. Ned Smith's diabolical story planning? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, this is just fun. I want to see what happens next. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave me a like, leave me a comment, and also hit subscribe so you know when I upload more videos. Thanks again for watching. Take care, and I'll see you later.